everyone should be aware of this. All of this information is at your fingertips. I know some persons, because you're so busy sometimes, you might not be able to engage with some of the information, but all of this is information that can be found on the JTC website under resources. So the objective of the appraisal process, let's talk about that real quick. So the objective of the appraisal is to improve your performance in critical areas of teaching, right? And it's all the whole process is all about making you better and ensuring that the students that you engage with learn as much as they can from you. Now, a lot of persons might not be so clear on, the appraisal. Some persons think it's punitive, and this is something that we need to work on internally, based on school leadership. So it's not intended to be punitive. It's really about making the teacher do some amount of introspection, looking at themselves, looking at how much better they can get at carrying out instruction, right? Now, continuous professional development is something that we are going to be entering into. I think we have been doing it already, but with the whole idea of becoming registered and all of that, you will have much more of those sessions coming at you, right? So the purpose of the appraisal, the first thing is for you to identify the need for continuous professional development, right? So within the profession, there are new technologies coming out. There's always new information. There are always new tools, right? And sometimes new theories. So we need to keep abreast of all of those different developments. Now, we need the teacher to also be able to self-appraise. You need to be able to look inward, look at how you are performing and look at the areas that you can make some improvements on. We also want you to be able to look at your career. You can't always be at the same level. You have to look at how you can develop yourself and move up the line, right? Now, formative and summative appraisal is something that this appraisal process also enables. So from time to time, based on whatever level you are at, you might notice that your middle manager, your HOD might pop into a class to look at what you're doing, right? And you have a number of formative appraisals that take place across the different terms. And of course, we're entering into the summative now, right? So we're coming to the end of the school year. And so many persons would want to now have their portfolio done. Now, in my upcoming presentation, I'll give you some tips on how to start your portfolio if you have not started yet. I mean, if you haven't started yet, you're really behind. Now, we also want to support your development. That's one of the main purposes of the appraisal, right? Your development as a teacher. And I think that point has been has been said many times. Now, we want to also provide reference for recognition and awards. So you have different persons who have benefited from, moving up to becoming master teacher, getting awards that, such as the LASCO Teacher of the Year and all of those things. Your appraisal, these things are used to make some of those decisions, right? Now, evidence-based, let's talk about this final point here. Evidence-based approaches to teacher accountability. Now, from the start of the school year, you want to have all your documents ready, regular school startup documents, your course outline, your lesson plans, your term plan, your TOS, all of those different things. You want to be able to have those things handy so school leadership can look at some of those things, right? Now, the pre-planning, I think this is where some of us might have a little problem. But if your school has great leadership, this is where it all starts from the school improvement plan, right? So each school must have a school improvement plan that is understood by the staff, right? Known and understood by the staff. Now, some school improvement plans run for a number of years. And before that, of course, you'll have your school self-evaluation, right? Now, the planning process should be participatory. That means everyone within the institution should know about it and should have a role to play in developing that plan. Now, school leadership must ensure that teachers recognize their contribution to the implementation. So within this pre-planning stage, whether you are middle manager or just classroom teacher without any extra responsibility apart from teaching and learning, you should know how you contribute to the achievement of the SIP, right? So if these things are not in line, of course, it does affect the amount of evidence that you can provide um, being a teacher within the institution. You can still have your evidence in some parts, but of course, you know that everything must be aligned. And if any principal is here, they know exactly what I'm talking about, how you align everyone, right? Now, the development of the appraisal instruments, there are instruments on the JTC website, and the concept of those instruments was that based on your school plant, you would now adopt those instruments and customize them for use with your school context, right? So the SIP we spoke about already, very important piece of document. Now, teachers, we're getting down into what you need to have. So once you know the school's SIP, you will pull from that the department action plan. And that's if you're in a high school, if you're in a primary school, I think there's some arrangement for teachers to pull from the SIP. And I think my other colleagues might be able to speak to that. The individual action plan, I know every teacher will have. So your individual action plan is something that should be aligned to the SIP and the overall objectives and outcomes that are set by the institution, right? So the appraisal instrument, these can be found on the JTC website, and I'll put a link to it just in case some people are not aware as to where to find these different instruments, right? So there are different instruments. Some are there for, we have ones for teachers, we have ones for principals, persons with posts of special responsibility, and so on. Now, as I said before, the appraisal instrument is developmental, right? So it is something that is used to rate you in terms of where you are as a professional, right? So it's not punitive. Remember, we said that earlier. Now, the SIP overview, the SIP is about the school's outcomes, right? And it's all about the educational expectation. So we're not talking about all the extracurricular activities that you put in. It's mostly about the teaching and learning, right? So we want all children to be effective. All right, so teacher responsibilities. And this is going right back to your appraisal. First thing, you need to know your SIP. You need to be a part of the preparation so you know what to pull from the SIP. Then set your goals. So within your action plan, you need to have some goals that feed into the SIP. And of course, as you go along, there might be some room for modifications, right? And of course, the expected outcome. So even for professional development, there must be something in place for that, right? Now, dialogue and collaboration, the appraiser, sometimes it's your school principal, or if you're in a high school, your HOD. There needs to be some dialogue between the appraiser and the appraisee, right? And that's based on the evidence. So that's what we're going to be talking about soon. Now, the observations and professional judgments, these are what will be used to put you on a path to get better, right? Now, of course, some amount of collaboration is necessary between teachers, and we'll talk a little bit about that in my next presentation. Now, the different domains, um, principals have 4, vice principals have 4, master teacher, they have 3, general teacher has 6, and the beginning teacher has 6. So most persons here might have 6 guiding principles, right? So where we have number of domains, we're really talking about the guiding principles. That's what we're talking about, right? So we have these different ratings that are assigned. So it's exemplary, area of strength, area for improvement, and unsatisfactory, right? So these are the different areas. So I won't read all of this, but you can go ahead and download the different documents from the JTC website and just go over them, just to ensure that you are aiming for this rating right here, exemplary, right? Because we want all teachers to be excellent, right? Professional practice, not bad. And there you can see where the rating is between 60 and 89%. Unsatisfactory, this is where we don't want to be, right? So I'm gonna have a little quiz for you, and